Hello, doing an oil change on a 2016 Volkswagen Jetta GLI. This is my wife's car, but I was just in the middle of the oil change and I thought I'd come on and make a video about some pointers because it's something that I just thought of to help myself the next time I do this oil change, and then something that might help someone else. So one thing that I always tell myself is I'm not going to have a problem remembering what size sockets I need, what size tools I need, what drives I need, anything like that, and I always forget, and I always end up being all over the place looking for them because I'm not the most organized mechanic or at-home mechanic, and I always tell myself I'm going to do better at organization and be more organized, and it never works out that way. But anyways, for this specific job, I had to use a 32 millimeter socket for the oil filter housing, and then I had to use a T47 for the drain bolt, and that's just one of those things that I knew that it was going to be a Torx bit, and I knew I was going to need a large socket for the oil filter housing, but I have no clue what size they are. And when the time comes to do the oil change, I'm just unprepared, and I spend more time looking for tools than I would just doing the oil change if I had the tools prepared. And another thing that I kind of sometimes neglect is the washer. The washer, people call it pinch washer, crunch washer, copper washer, whatever you want to call it. I think the last time I did the oil change on here, I got a kit from FCP Euro that came with a new drain bolt, and change the drain bolt doesn't need to be replaced every single time. I don't know, some people do. It's not very expensive. It's like a couple bucks every time, but it's one of those things that I personally don't like replacing every single time. I don't see the point. The washer, on the other hand, I definitely would suggest replacing that because they're getting pinched in there. This would probably be fine. I don't think this would leak or anything. This is only a few months ago I replaced this washer, but if you have a kit like this that comes with a bunch of washers, I have copper washers, and then I have washers like this that have like the rubber gasket on the inside. I think, honestly, you can use either one. I've always personally used the copper washers, just because that's kind of like the standard that I see all the time people using. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's probably worth just using a washer, a new one every single time, and not having to think about it or worry about it. If you ever do get a leak coming from the drain bolt, I mean, you can do the whole vacuum trick and replace that washer and prevent that oil leak, but I think it's just easier. I think it's safe to say everybody would agree that it's easier just to replace that washer the first time, or when you're doing the oil change. That way you don't have to worry about it the next time. And then if you have a kit like this, which I don't think they're very expensive, you can probably get them at Harbor Freight or Amazon or online or something like that for pretty cheap. And then yeah, I'm gonna continue this oil change for the Jetta. I'm going over any oil changes in this video, or the procedure for the oil change on the Volkswagen Jetta GLIs. This is the MK6.5, but I'm not going to be going over the procedure. If you're interested in the procedure, I can make a video on that, which I probably will do. But since I've already started it, this is just more of a tip video or extra tips while doing it. Filter I use this Hengst filter. It's kind of the one that FCP Euro suggests when you're buying their kit. And then this is the oil that I buy. This is not just a random oil that I chose. I chose it specifically because of this this manufacturer spec down here. I can't remember if it's 502 or 505. That's for this vehicle, but you can look up your specific vehicle online. When I used to have a TDI, then older MK4 or MK3 TDI. It also had a different specification. I used the same weight, but I used special Diesel Tech Moly liquid oil. Moly liquid is a little more expensive, but honestly, for the price nowadays on oil, especially full synthetic oil, I mean, it's just better just to go with, especially if you have a German car, just with liquid moly. I think this is moly liquid earlier, but anyways, yeah, I mean, for this I got this 1 extra quart, and then the filter and I think it was like $60 or $62, which is honestly not that bad, considering how much other oil costs like Valvoline or Mobil 1. But yeah, this is the oil I use, and I'm gonna be pulling out the filter. The way to pull it out, I should probably have bought some of the blue napkins, but I'm just gonna use this box. Put it right over, pinch the filter, slowly pull it out, make sure not to drip, and that's it. Kind of a no mess situation. And then here's the new one. I don't believe there's an orientation. I'm not seeing any orientation markers. There is text on the top, and there's no text on the bottom, so I'm probably gonna do text side up, because I think that's how I pulled it out of the box. So that's fully seated right there. And then next is the gasket for the housing, which is pretty important as well to replace every time. Housing, I'm just gonna get a flathead. You can get like a pick type screwdriver. I'm just gonna get a flathead, get it under there, and then get it off. Oop. Sometimes I think this one actually might have a smaller gasket up here. Typically I think those are replaced typically. The kit that I got does not include one, so this time I'm not going to replace it. But I think I have a box that has gaskets, like little smaller gaskets, and I think maybe next time I'll replace that. But I think this one is more important, the one on the actual housing itself, just because it's the one actually holding oil from coming out of the housing. So let's see if I can do this with one hand. Got the new gasket on. Once you get the new gasket on, I know that the standard kind of is for the for like the screw-on filters, like the external ones, to oil the the mating surface seal. I don't I think that's a safe thing to do as well for any oil filter housing or any oil filter, any screw-on filter or housing or like filter housing, anything like that. I think it's safe just to at least run some fresh oil over that seal, and that way you don't have anything pinch or anything like that, and you don't end up with any leaks, which is something that nobody wants to deal with. Next, just gonna line that up, push it down straight, and I'm going to hand tighten it as much as I can. Probably should wipe my hands before I did this. Oh well. Cool, and then there is a torque spec on here. 25 plus 5 Newton meters. I'm assuming that might be 25 plus 5 degrees. I typically just kind of tighten it down with a socket, not on an impact, just on a wrench, until it kind of bottoms out. And I do not over tighten these either. As same rule of thumb with the other ones as well, with the screw-on externals, where you put them on and you don't want to over tighten those as well. So here it's already almost bottomed out. I'm just putting a little extra on it, and that's it. Something that you definitely don't want to over tighten, but because I think the housing is like a plastic housing filter, and you definitely don't want to snap that. And if it is a little tight, I mean, obviously you can get it off with the socket the next time, but you still don't want to over tighten it. And then you just kind of make sure that it's bottomed out. And as you can see, it is bottomed out. There's no gap, no thread showing, nothing like that. Next, I'm going to put the drain bolt back on. It's been dripping for a long time. I do have a jack stand under here. It's not just the floor jack. Remember to always do your jack stand. You want to make sure you thread that puppy on all the way, or at least start it before you start trying to tighten it down any other way. And then always, wipe around, or you can use brake fluid, whatever you prefer to clean around, and make sure that it's not oily. Same thing here. I'm going to tighten. I'm not going to over tighten. I know that there's a torque spec for this, but I'm lazy and I'm not going to look up the torque spec. but I'm also not going to over tighten because I don't want to snap anything. I don't want to have to replace a oil pan or anything. But you don't have to go crazy on these. They're not going to leak that easily, especially with the new washer on. Oh, this was kind of more like a pointers type thing. You know, get your tools organized and written down or saved on your phone so that you know what you need every time you work on your oil change. It's one of those things that's kind of annoying, but at the same time, if you're organized, it's going to make the job way easier. I'm kind of doing this video as a reminder to myself for the next time I do this. With the oil, FCP Euro has a warranty for everything that they sell, and that includes oil. I'm sure many of you have heard about that. I've never sent oil back before, so I'm going to try it for my first time. And I think the filter can be sent back as well, because there is an option to warranty that as well on their website. So I don't even know if that's part of it, but I'm going to give it a shot. I emptied this out, my oil jug beforehand, so all the oil that's in there is only from this car. So once I refill the new oil, I'm going to fill up the jugs with the old used oil and tighten up, put it in bags, zip tie it, send it back and see what happens. Hopefully they're able to warranty it without an issue. Now I'm going to fill the old oil. I believe it takes a little over 5 quarts. I think it takes like almost 6 liters, which is somewhere around 6 quarts. But I cleaned out my funnel. I always do. Man, I just spilled a bunch of oil on the ignition coil. That's great. No matter how careful you are, even with the funnel, you can still make a mess. I'm gonna get that dried up ASAP. I'm gonna stop actually and get that. I cleaned it up. No matter how careful you are, you can still make a mess. So I'm gonna try again. The jug does. So I've done the first jug, and I lowered the car off the jack stand and the jack. And I'm gonna add another maybe half a quart. And this is really close to what I need. What I'm gonna do is turn the car on, let it run for like a few seconds to fill the filter housing. I'm going to pull it out of the shop so that it's on level ground. That way I can get an accurate oil level reading. It probably wouldn't make a big difference if I just left it where it is, but I like to be sure. And then we'll add more if we need to. I got the car out of the shop a little bit. It's on level ground. I am going to pull out the dipstick, take a look and see if the oil reading is close, or oil level is close. Looks like it is right about in the middle, and I only have about half a quart left, so I think I'm going to add the other half a quart. And if it's on the high side, that's okay. It's better than being on the low side. I added the other half a quart. Gonna take a look again. And yeah, it looks like it's right about, I don't know if you can see that, right about, yeah, you can't really see, right about at the top. Maybe it's not perfectly ideal, but I think it's where it needs to be. TSI cover, I have a cleaner right here that I'm going to use just because it's really dirty and dusty from the gravel roads in the area. And I have a rag, a microfiber cloth, not the same one that I used for the oil change, a new one. I'm actually cleaning up, and I found the oil spec down here. So it's the 50200, which is what we saw earlier down here on the bottom of the jug. It's for 502 or 50500. I don't know if every Volkswagen is going to have that spec right under the hood here, but these newer ones do, I guess. I cleaned the cover just because, it's dirty and dusty, and if you're a car person, that definitely bothers you, and you want your car to look kind of cool under the hood. So something that I do sometimes just for, just for myself, because I have OCD with that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was just, I guess, some tips in the second half of an oil change for a 2016 Jetta GLI. And I don't know if this also goes for the 1.4s, but I'm sure it's pretty similar. But this is a 2.0 turbo, so I think this goes for the GLIs or the GTIs. So yeah, thanks for watching.